Okay, with this short video training, we are going to see how to use and configure CubeholterNG of CardioLine. So, by double-clicking on the icon on the desktop, the software archive opens. Here I have the list of exams. I have the first name of the patient, last name, the patient ID, the recording start date, the reviewing date, and the duration of the hold. Then I have few icons that are button. This button is to open the exam and to make the analysis. This button is to review and eventually change patient data. And this button is to delete the exam from the list. Here I have also the search field, and I can also order the records by clicking on the top of the column. Now let's see what happens if I click on the pen icon. Okay, here I have the start recording date and time. This can be modified if necessary. So if there is any error on the, for example, on the recorded clock, I can change the time here. Patient ID, patient data. Here I can select pacemaker if the patient has a pacemaker, type of pacemaker and frequency, heartbeat. Here other information, reason for study, therapy, and the path where the exam is actually stored. If I click on this button, the related folder opens. Okay, when I'm done, I can simply confirm. Then now I will open this exam, and if it's the first time that the exam is opened, then the automatic analysis will begin. Otherwise, the exam simply opens. The time required for the analysis depends on the length of the exam and also on the quality of the recording, and also on the setting of the analysis. How can I set the analysis parameter? Here in the main windows of CubeholterNG, on the right top corner, I can click, and here I can access the analysis configuration, report configuration, information about CubeholterNG, and a button to exit the software. So if I go in analysis configuration, here I have the analysis criteria. These are standard, generally speaking, are good with all the examined patient. For example, the pause time over 2000 milliseconds. Then I have the RR page. On the RR page, I have the threshold correlation. 90 is the default value. By changing this value, if I increase the value up to 100, which is the maximum, I increase the precision of the analysis, but also the number of templates. By reducing this number, I might have a less precise analysis, but also a lower number of templates. That is useful if I wish to have a faster analysis on exam with a good recording quality. This is the button to recall at any time the default values. Then I have the noise algorithm. The noise algorithm, if enabled, means that the software automatically search for the better channel to make the analysis, switching between the 3 channel or the 12 channel of the recording. If I deselect this noise algorithm, I can select a channel of choice to make the analysis. I can also change the noise level. What does it mean? This means 700 is the default. If I change that, for example, in case I have a low amplitude signal, I can reduce the noise level to capture more bits, with the risk anyway to capture also more artifact. So in some case, with bad quality recording, I can use the noise level to improve my analysis. Anyway, here I have the ST analysis, and these are also standard parameters. and eventually I can perform the analysis by taking into consideration a pacemaker if it wasn't made before, to perform again the analysis. So this will also erase all the previous analysis made. I have to push accept button. Now let's have a look at this exam. So this is the main page. I am in the summary page. The relative icon is highlighted. Here I have patient data, as seen before, reason for study, other information about the exam, and here I have the summary of all the automatic analysis finding. So here I have the RR summary, RR max, minimum time, heart rate, minimum max, and other information. Here I have the template summary, total templates 41, normal and ventricular, the event summary, ST summary, QT summary, and HRV summary. Later we will see each one of these pages in detail. Then at the bottom of the page I have the report field where I can write my report. I can also magnify these windows full screen, and I have also, I can write my text and accept. Then I have the button to write my name, and if I press report, I generate a PDF file which represents my my final report. Okay, now how to perform the analysis with CubeholterNG? The analysis should follow this process. First step is to go on the RR page. The RR page show me a trend of all the recording, where in green I see the RR times, and in blue the heart rate times. These are the values for the two values. Then I have other indicator, for example the gray zone signal noise artifact, while if I have atrial fibrillation, in this case there isn't any, but if the system finds atrial fibrillation, there will be a red marker. Then I can also change the duration of this trend. I can have only 12 hour, 6 hour, and I can change, of course, time interval, next previous, or the whole recording. Here I can select artifact or atrial fibrillation, which is automatically calculated. If you need to input manually, you can click and drag the mouse, select a part of the trend, and right-click, insert atrial fibrillation. Okay, in this case, see, I get a red line, red dotted line with AFib, and also on the trend, the red marking. Well, now if I make a mistake during my analysis, I can also go back by pressing Ctrl Z. This is like the undo in standard softwares. What does it mean, all this artifact at the end of the exam? The artifact at the end of the exam, for example, means the patient or the nurse disconnected the cable from the patient before the ending of the recording without stopping the recorder. So I get all this noise. Here I can also view the exam. Down here I can change the layout of this. So if I choose, for example, one lead, I see a compacted lead scrolling down. If I change, for example, the speed of that lead, I take a bigger overview of this lead. The events are marked with text over it, and the ventricular beat are marked in red. So while the normal beat are marked in green with an N. So N means normal, V means ventricular, while, for example, A means artifact, P means paced, and so on. If the software missed a beat, for example, let's say that this beat has not been detected by the software, I can correct this manually by selecting the point right click, insert normal bit. That's it. Now I get my normal bit. On the ECG strip I can also insert a manual event by selecting more than one bit. I right click, insert modify event. This can be done also by using the keyboard. So if I press the E button, I do actually the same. If I press the I button, I insert a fib. If I press the P button, I add this to a report. So P, the button P, I can select the length, I can write a note, and this is like a print reservation that has been added to my report. Then now I want to insert an event. So by right clicking, I can select an event within the list that is already available, or otherwise I can, for example, let's say this is a natural aberrant bit that is not, just for example. Now I press Ctrl. Now I want to delete an event, for example, that is wrong, so I can do that, for example, undo. Otherwise, I can also insert event, manual event. I mean, I can write my own. And press OK. So this event is added to the list of events available in the related page. So if I go here, I will find my own event, and here we are. So back to the RR page, there is another thing that I can do by pressing the left or right arrow on the keyboard. I can move the RR, and if I keep pressing that arrow, the system starts playing the recording, so I can let it go. To stop, I just press any other key. Okay, now I can also zoom in the waveform by pressing the Control button on the keyboard and the wheel on the mouse. So I can zoom in, zoom out to better view the ECG. At this stage, I can also press the space bar on the keyboard or right click with the mouse to use the mouse to pan in the ECG. Then if I press again the space bar, I switch back to measurement. So here I can take a measure. Here I get the time, the heart rate, and the amplitude from the beginning point of the measure to the ending point of the measure. So for example, if I measure from here to here, I get this number. Good, so now I go back to the normal view, and down here I have this recap. These are actually buttons. So for example, I want to see the minimum heart rate. I can click on it and the software automatically bring me there. So now I am on the minimum heart rate. If I have an ECG, an Holter recorded with 12 channels, of course I have more selection. Here I can select also 6 or 12 channel view. Now, when I'm done with the RR page, that is used mainly to have an overview of the recording and make a quality check, I can start analyzing the exam. This is a mandatory step. I mean, before do anything else, I need to clean the templates from errors. And it's normal to have errors in the templates because due to artifact, very often this happens, the software detects artifact as bits. For example, this is due to the recording quality, unfortunately. If there are bad recording, it will be more difficult to analyze automatically, so I need to do some cleaning. This is not a big job if the recording is well done. So in this case, I have this ventricular beat, which is very clear, very nice. This is a very good recording. And this is the first template with 4,807 beats. This is the first of 16 templates. If I double click on the template, I open all the beats which are part of this template, and I can review all of them. If I double click again, I go back to the list of templates. So I can have a quick look at these beats. For example, this to me is just an artifact. If I find an artifact between them, this is okay. This is another artifact. This is also another artifact. So I will delete these three. I will delete this, and this, and this, for example. How can I select different templates in one time? I need to push the Control button and click left button of the mouse so I can select the select. So now I will select again with the Control button, and then how to change that into artifact, for example. I can press the A button on the keyboard, and that's it. They are removed from here. If I want to select a bigger list of templates in a consecutive way, I select the first, I keep pushing the Shift button on the keyboard, and I select the last. It's much faster. See, for example, I select this. Okay, this is good. This is an artifact, probably. And this seems to be good. This is an artifact. This is not a true bit. This is another artifact. This also. So I can also remove these three, push A button, and I have these remaining bits, which are, this is an artifact, this is good. So artifact, this is good, artifact. So just let's complete the job. This is okay, this is okay, this is okay. I think I cleaned more or less. Okay, this, for example, is an artifact. This is not true. Okay, more or less I think I have completed my cleaning job. Anyway, later I can come back to here. I want just to check also the normal templates. So you have ventricular and normal. Here I want to check if by mistake some ventricular beat is between the normal beats. Okay, for example, this looks like an artifact. There is one bit here that is wrong, so this is an artifact. Normally it's not necessary to make this check, it's just to be sure that my analysis is good. Okay, here I have another situation. This is an error, so the software took this as a bit and this as nothing. So we'll insert a normal and I will remove this. I can also scroll between the templates by rotating the wheel of the mouse, and I go to the events now. I get this trend with the RR times, and I can see these windows as a trend, as a table, or as a strips. So trend is already quite clear what's that. Table, I get a table with each row representing one of the events found by the software. So I can also see them here. And this is the first hour of recording, hour 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. And they are visible by hour of recording. So for example, at the 6th hour, which is from 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock a.m., I have 353 pause. Okay, and the strips are used for another function. On the strips, I can also order them, for example, by, in case of pause, by duration, by heart rate, maximum heart rate, or minimum heart rate. So for each type of event, I can order them with different criteria. I can also see them like the RR page. I can see the whole recording, only 12 hour, only 6 hour, and these lines represent the events. So I can move between them by clicking on the button here. So now let's see some pause. Let's start with the pause. I put strips. I order them by minimum heart rate, and I look at them. Okay, this is true, it's true, it's true. I think on the pause side it worked very well. These are quite good recording. Then I can have a look at the bradycardia, for example, and this is the bradycardia. Here the heart rate is quite low. I can order them by beats or by heart rate, minimum heart rate. For example, this is 44. By number of beats, I have this, which lasted for 305 beats, for example. And also on the bradycardia, as the software worked fine. Then I have couplet. I have the delay. For example, here the same, I can do the same as I did with the pause. I have the premature ventricular beat. Okay, here again, if I work well with the templates, also here I will have very clear result. So here I can see also the distribution of this PVC along the recording, and I can move between them the same way. At any time I can take a print reservation and add it to the report. Then I have bigemini, trigemini, quadrigemini. If I want to delete a group of events, for example, now we are seeing the bradycardia events, and I can switch to strip view. Now, the criteria for me in this case is all the events below 4 seconds of the duration are not bradycardia, for example. So here in the top I can, okay, here I can select the order type, duration. Here I see the time, the duration time of this event. With the wheel of the mouse I scroll until I reach the time I want. Now I click on the first event with the left button of the mouse. I scroll all the list of events with the wheel of the mouse. When I reach the end of the events list, I push the shift button on the keyboard and I click with the left button of the mouse on the last event. In this way, I selected all of them between 4 seconds and 2 seconds.4. Now I can right-click on the mouse and select normal rhythm or artifact or modify event, or I can simply push delete button on the keyboard. So I will do that. I will push delete. And now all the events below 4 seconds of duration have been deleted all at once. After that, when I finish with the analysis, I can go to the next page and check if the software detected any ST event. In this case, there aren't. Here I see the value calculated by the software. I can move by clicking on the trend, and I can see that also as a trend in strips. If there is an ST event that has not been detected by the software, this could be due to the fiducial point location, so I can change that. I can move that, I can zoom in by clicking the control button and rotating the wheel, and I can change, for example, this fiducial point, the J point, and the QRS on set. And I change that fiducial point, of course, also the ST analysis will change accordingly. If I want to input then some ST episode, I can do that manually. And then now I will see also, and if I want to remove them, I can select the area and remove it. So I can zero that. Next page is the QT page. Here I can see a trend representing the RR time versus the, in green, versus the QT. This can be done by using also corrected QT, like with 3 different formulas. So we have Basé, Frederica, and Hodgson, and beside I have the values, so I can make my analysis. Also in this case, I can change the fiducial point. Then I have the HRV page, a simple HRV analysis, heart rate variability analysis, and here I can read the value, the global value, calculated for the whole exam. Here I can select different trend to make a comparison between them. I can select also shorter, smaller part of the exam to make a specific analysis. And at last, I can also add this to the final report. I am at the summary page, and I wish to write my report and to generate it. So before generating the report, I go to the report configuration, and I have a look on how the report configuration is made. So this is the section related to trend tables in ECG. Here I can edit the report header. I can also add a logo and define is it should be stay on the left or on the right. I have the print reservation that can be selected, deselected, and the summary. Okay, I can change that anytime. So for example, I don't need a trend for QT, ST, HRV. So I can deselect the trend that I don't need. In the events case, I can also select specifically which event I want to show you or not. Okay, for example. The same for the tables. So, don't know, let's do that. The same for the ECG. So I can select event strip, and that's it. Then I just press report, confirm yes, and a PDF file is created. So in the report I get the header, patient data, information about the halter, conclusion, and signature. This is the first page. Then I have summary, there are summary, template, event, ST, QT, HRV, and analysis criteria used for the analysis of the halter. Here I have the trend section, so I have a trend for all these categories. The table section. The table section, I have some more data that I might don't see in the software. For example, in this case, it's useless to have also the ST analysis because there wasn't any ST event. Okay, here, for example, the QT analysis give me other information, and Then I have the strips for heart rate, minimum and maximum, the event, 2 strips for each event, Gemini, bradycardia, couplet, and so on. And at last they have the reservation, the manual made reservation. And when I'm done, I can just exit the software and the analysis is saved.